Warning, you may find the content of this production offensive. Please rest assured that we're doing everything in our power to regulate our content and how we present it, just so that you can feel safe and delighted by what you see and hear. Just kidding. If you don't like it, you're in the wrong place, and you can find a nice wide-brimmed hat and fuck it.
This right here has the ability with a 30 caliber clip to disperse with 30 bullets within half a second.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS, Ballistically Speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.
How to Make Friends and Influence People by Ballistically Speaking Podcasts.
Yeah, with our intros.
That's right.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. This is what, episode 8 of Ballistically Speaking? Have I got that right, Rooster?
BS Session 8, yes.
BS Session 8.
Yeah, I think it has a better ring to it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it does. That's why we chose that name, isn't it?
It's more garagey.
It's garagey. It's definitely not garagey. It's fully garagey.
Garagey.
Yeah. So we're joined tonight by Sean from Marginet Metal Works. How's it going, Sean?
Hello. Doing swell over here. How about yourself?
Oh, we're doing we're
I don't know about swell, but
it's sweltering.
Pretty decent.
Yeah.
Well, you're pretty far up north, Kurt. What was it today?
It was in around the 27, I believe it was.
Oh, you can go to hell.
Yeah, can't I?
Yeah.
Who says I'm not already there?
Well, I think that. So, Sean, you're in the winter peg, where
That's
it was
correct.
still above 30. You were saying like 32 degrees today,
Yeah, about that.
and I'm pretty sure
not too bad.
No, well, that's not true, but I appreciate you trying to downplay it. That's pretty terrible.
I mean, I'm inside, so
Yeah, stay inside all day. I'm pretty sure that we hit 34 today, and I was dumb enough to go outside and film a bunch with the Sterling R18 and the Gen 2 180C.
very nice.
Trying to get more content for that. I did a video. I started my morning doing a video at the bench here, talking about, or not talking about, but going through replacing the piston in my Gen 2 180C because I snapped it. And so that started out well and good. But then, of course, you have to go out and test it. And so you got to film all that. And I was having trouble with the Sterling R18 cycling steel cased ammo. Because when I started with the Gen 2 videos, I was doing these first look videos on YouTube, and one of them that I was just shorter videos, and one of them I was doing is will it run steel cased ammo? And so I was doing the same thing with the R18, and my first time out, it wouldn't work. It was like jamming, like after one or two rounds. So I messaged Sterling, and I was like, hey guys, you may or may not know this. The non-reciprocating charging handle locks closed with a little magnet at the front of the receiver. So the charging handle has some steel on it, and then the magnet fits into the receiver, and then they just kind of slide up against each other, and the magnet kind of keeps it closed. And I was thinking, well, is the magnet on this thing like reacting with the steel cased ammunition? Because it wasn't doing that with the brass ammo. And so I messaged them, and they were like, well, probably not. It's possible, but probably not. Have you tried regulating the gas on it? And I was like, oh, well, now I feel like a fucking idiot, because all the other 180 platforms so far have had non-adjustable gas systems. Right. The MCR, the 180C, or at least the original two, the two more popular ones, don't have adjustable gas systems. And I completely forgot that the Sterling had adjustable gas on it. So I took it out and adjusted the gas and redid the video this afternoon. And spoiler alert, it ran the ammo just fine. So when in doubt, adjust your gas system, I guess, is the short story there. And it was balls hot outside, and I think I'm still sweating, but I'm here with my water.
It's real good to know.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, sorry.
So we should probably ask you, Sean, What do you do?
Well, among other things, my pride and joy, I would say, is my business, Marginet Metal Works. It's a business that I started back in 2018. It's kind of a foray into a bunch of reloading organizational equipment and shooting accessories. I started it off just making some things that I found interesting and expanded on that. Taking a step a little bit further behind that, I actually worked and work with now PGW Defense. So I worked with them full time since 2016, running their CNC machining department, or rather being one of the people in the manufacturing wing. And I ran a bunch of the receivers there and got my foot in the door in the defense industry through that. And it really opened my eyes to what's available within Canada. Like, I've been shooting for probably about 20 years, but not to this level where I've seen what's available in the market and just seeing the powerhouses of companies that are throughout Canada, and just the manufacturing that is capabilities that are available throughout Canada as well. So getting into PGW really opened my eyes to that.
Very
you sure
cool.
don't see a lot of what you're talking about. I think it's just very closed-lipped, all that sort of activity. Why do you think that is?
I think without being in the industry, I just didn't see much of it. Like, as a civilian that primarily just did a lot of plinking, I wasn't privy to a lot of that information.
Right.
Thank you. And of course, that gorgeous scope.
Yes.
But yeah, I wasn't privy to a lot of it. And then just the getting into the industry, it just really opened my eyes. Of course, powerhouses like MDT, Trigger Tech, PGW. It just really shows that there's a lot of manufacturing potential within Canada. And now there's more and more. IBI, of course, Ultimatum, and Cadex and Apex. And there's just, it keeps adding. And so I kind of saw that, and I'm just one guy. And so I will say that my business is just me. It's every dollar that I put into it came out of my full-time employment, and I still haven't got a loan or anything. And I'm taking every single dollar that I get, and I'm just investing it back into the business. And it's been a hard struggle because I've been doing everything myself, and I'm hitting the point where I need to start outsourcing things like production, because my business is certainly picking up. And I actually found a buddy who is very much like me. Like, I don't have it yet. I actually rent machine time. So I don't actually have my own machine. I rent machine time through PGW to manufacture my parts. Okay. And I have a buddy who has, just like me, has a machine and a dream. Rather, he has the machine. I just have the dream right now. But so I'm outsourcing some of my manufacturing now to him to start expanding my operations so that I can continue development on new products, and as well just bring more things to market that I find maybe useful or people have been asking for a while.
That makes a lot more sense when you said that you're renting machines. I was like, wow, he's got all these CNC machines and he hasn't had any loans or anything. That's pretty.
I wish.
Pretty stellar.
Yeah, I had to clarify that because
like hundreds of thousands of dollars in machinery. Like, good for you.
Honestly, like, the goal this year was for me to rebuild my garage and put a machine in there, but things like the roof, I needed to reshingle that and put it in AC, all that fun stuff. So house and life kind of took over. And
shocking how that happens.
Yeah. And actually, with that all being said, I actually wanted to make a little mention too, because I'm sure some of the people out there have seen that some of my stock levels haven't picked up. Say, for example, my Arca M-Lock clamp, that one's been out of stock for a little bit. And that's because I hit a bit of a wall there with production and keeping up with that, because it became a lot more popular than I thought it was. And I thought I made enough for the foreseeable future. And that quickly ran out. So now I'm kind of scrambling to get back to production, because I've been working full time with PGW as well. So that's kind of offset some of my production time. So it's a bit of scramble right now to balance both full-time employment as well as this business that is now growing lot more than I thought it was going to.
Well, that's hard to argue or to complain about, is it?
Yeah.
But that's an interesting thing, though, too, is that you're working full time for a company that is well established, but kind of restarting itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then yours, like, you're hearing your name a lot in a lot of different circles, which kind of indicates, that the business is not doing too terribly bad. Both of those, it's got to be a bit of a juggling act, making sure that they're not getting out of control.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I really, I hit a bit of a wall earlier this year. I ran into a lot of challenges that really showed me where my priorities lied. And so I've just been really trying to reassess and trying to manage my time a lot better this year. And so far it hasn't worked out as well as I'd hoped, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just reflecting on my name getting out there. Even it's kind of ridiculous because I'm just, like I said, I'm just one guy out of Winnipeg, and I made a couple things, and I'm like, this is a cool idea. And then
Right.
I started going to matches, and I see people running things that I made, and I'm like, that's cool. Like I'm the guy that made that, And it's neat to start seeing it get out there a bit more. And it's just a lot of the things I make, it comes from a need for myself. Like the Arca M-Lock clamp. I had a drawer full of M-Lock accessories, and I was like, I'd love to put these on an Arca rail, but I don't have anything to put them on there. So I kind of just went with that and expanded on that idea. And it just, I can see the versatility in that. And then I added additional versatility to the clamp as I went. And I try and do that with all the products that I manufacture as well.
Mm-hmm.
So is that primarily where you get the ideas from? Is where you're kind of looking at the stuff that you're using or would like to use or would like to have, and then you're like, fuck it, I'll just make it, and hopefully other people want it too?
For the most part, yeah. Like even the latest, some of the latest developments that I've been working on. Rather, I mean, that shooting bag with the platform. That's something I was working on last year, but I really haven't said anything about it because I just got a sewing machine, even because I'm stubborn, and I got to make the bag myself, and I got to figure it out. And I ordered all the Cordura, I ordered everything, and I'm just like, I'm going to figure out how to make these things. And so I it
turned out pretty damn good.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think awesome. I contacted Sean. I don't know what the hell was it, like 5 days before I left to go to the Sapril shoot. Hey, any chance you could supply me with one of these? He's like, well, I got to make it first. Like, well, if you're offering.
Might have some free time coming up after work in the next day or two.
Right around midnight, between midnight and 2 a.m.
It was about then, yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it. Well, I thank you for that. It came in handy for sure. It's nice.
Yeah,
nice
that's
work.
good to hear. And it's something that it's in development right now, but it's something that I'm hoping to bring to market soon, because that very much came from a need. Like, I see all these different bag plates on the market, and honestly, I feel a lot of them are very bulky, and that's kind of why, even actually I'll pull it up here, but this is my Arca M-Lock clamp with just a bag on it. I designed it so that there's a 1-inch slot that runs down the center, so you can just run standard 1-inch webbing. So you don't need a plate or anything. You just take my clamp and you just slap a bag right over top of that. And I designed that because it's like you go through a ladder stage or something like that, or maybe a tube, something that you're really compact, and sometimes you have a trouble getting in a big bulky bag in there. So that's why I kind of went for that. And then the intermediary, which is of course the bag plate bag. So I'm going to still refine the bag, I think, a little bit more. But I've actually been working with, I'll shout out to him right now, Boss Gear. He's newer business coming up, but he does some RO work and whatnot. And he's actually been working on a bag with me with that too. So I'm trying to, in developing these products, now that I'm trying to step out of just doing everything myself, I'm trying to work with other fellow Canadians and try and bring other people that could really benefit this project, and then just have additional just eyes on this too, because other people can certainly bring beneficial aspects to each product and each development.
Right. This
So-
Canadian manufacturing bit is, where shooting sports are concerned, is really blown up these last couple of years. Eh?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's becoming more important to a lot of people in general. I mean, you look at, I don't think did I talk about them last week? I can't remember now, but like Origin USA and,
Yeah, you did.
Pete Roberts and Jocko Willink and all that. That's a pretty
At
crazy.
length.
I did. Yeah. I won't talk about it too much now.
No,
but
it's good.
it was
Glad you
pretty,
did.
it's pretty cool seeing that sort of stuff. And we're seeing a lot of that. Like, obviously they're doing it on a very large scale because they got, some pretty important celebrities and some pretty important money backing it. But I mean, we have a lot of that in Canada, just with smaller folks like yourself, Sean, the guys that are trying to start a business off of being able to rent their employers' machines after hours and that sort of thing. And I might have missed this because I was paying attention to Vanya shit talking Jens, but did you say that you guys are making the bags as well?
I am, yes. Right now, I'm currently making the bags that I sell.
Yeah. So are you sourcing the textiles from Canada as well? Like the material is Canadian as well?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, the raw material, I don't know exactly where it comes from, but I do source it from a Canadian retailer.
Right. Yeah. So you're buying the fabric from a
Yeah.
Canadian company, but you don't know where it's being loomed or whatever.
Yeah. Like, for example, my aluminum, it's like very much with that. It's like I request certain types, like say Thunderbar, like USA made. And it's sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes you may get a Malaysian chunk of aluminum or somewhere else. And so it's kind of like I try and support the Canadian retailers as well. And it's very much like buying a product else. Like an end product. It's like sometimes it may not be made here, but ultimately I'd still like to support that Canadian retailer, whether or not they bring it from Canada. I try and source more Canadian goods as I can, but it's honestly very difficult at times, especially with raw materials such as aluminum.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine that. We've got so many raw materials in Canada, but we don't sell or refine any of them. Well, that's not true, but so much of them we don't, sell or refine. We sell them off to other places and then buy it back from them. But I mean, good for you for trying to, wherever you can, making that a Canadian-made project, and then obviously all the machining that you guys are doing is being done in Canada. That on its own, bringing that sort of stuff back to Canada, I think, is important.
Yeah, from initial design concept, I start the modeling process, and then from there I just refine the product as I see fit and make an assembly. Typically, I have all the like above me, the MDT ACC. I got all the chassis models and everything already good to go because I made them all just so I could have a reference for them. And then I can actually have a model of the Coyote and Timberwolf, so I can just slap them in whatever, and then I just start refining the model and the assembly from there. And then I also try and work with the aesthetics of a rifle too. For example, I'll take a step back to PGW as well. The M15, when we re-released that, it was actually a redesign that I did on at least the aesthetics, because I tried to facet it, make the tang look very much like a Coyote as well as the rail system. And it has the exact same amount of slots as a Coyote. And so a lot of the products I design in my business as well, I take that into account too, the aesthetics of it and the lines and just even how every little chamfer is there so that when you run your hand over it feels smooth and you're not going to cut yourself, and as well minimal snag points, because when you're on a barricade, you're on the clock, you don't need anything to snag.
That's an interesting thing, because we've again, talking about Canadian manufacturing, we've seen a lot of it in terms of firearms manufacturing lately, but it always seems that so many of the stuff that we've been getting from Canada lately, you buy it and it's got tool marks on it, or, and it's got sharp edges on it, or, that sort of stuff. And, I haven't seen a whole lot of your stuff in the reel, but it certainly looks like your stuff is just as polished as any other brand that you're going to buy anywhere.
Yeah, I try and make, as one guy, it's hard to compete with these massive companies that are turning out tens of thousands of products, but I can still turn out 10 of them and make it look good and be proud of what I put out. And even the packaging, while it may be simple, it's something that I spend a bit of time on. And even those little target cards that I put in each of my package, I design those. I sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to design something and I want it to be useful. And that's why I even threw a little target on my target cards that I throw in the package, because it's like, I don't want somebody to just throw it, like, buy a product, here's a card, throw it out. It's like, hey, you can throw it on your board and take a shot at it. Like,
yeah. Do you think in the future, or do you have any designs on getting into bigger parts like chassis or things like that?
I actually have a couple designs of one is a modular chassis system. It started as a project that I was working on for the M15. I don't know. I've thought about it. It's just getting into that. I certainly would have to have a couple machines and some more capability in terms of production capacity.
That's a big step.
Because I have worked on some chassis systems as well as development of full rifle systems with PGW, and it is a very involved, very pricey process. So while I would love to do that, I think the near future probably it's out of my reach, but I would like to do that at some point, along with, like, I have designs for muzzle devices and tuners and all sorts of things like that. But also, at the same time, I don't want to step on other manufacturers, and I try to kind of fill a void where I see, for example, Area 419. They're someone that I hold in high regard because I see what they're doing out there, and it's just their shop is getting bigger and bigger every year, and they're bringing to market amazing products. And so I'm like, okay, I'd like to be that, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't really want mega shop, and it's like I see it just being me, and it's like it's kind of a disconnect there. But at the same time, it's just I try and bring the best of what I can to market.
For sure.
There's plenty of competition out there too, and even in Canada, and like you look at the chassis market. And that would be tough to break into now, especially with all the features that modern chassis incorporate. Imagine it's going to be tough to come up with something unique or more useful or gives a shooter more advantage than what's already there.
Would you say that it's getting into making chassis? Would you say that would be as involved as making actions and barrels, or are they still on different levels? Or
I think they're still on different levels because while ultimately it's a lot about precision and tolerances, and at the end of the day, a rifle is just really it's just a machine. It's a bunch of little springs and levers and pulleys and stuff, like maybe not pulleys rather, but
we know what you mean though.
Unless it's maybe if it's a trebuchet or something, but
the new Marginet Metal Works trebuchet in 308.
But so I think there is a bit more, but I won't also talk lightly of that, because at the same time, a chassis is an assembly, and everything needs to work together, and all the tolerances need to be set accordingly, and you need to know your fits and your material types and everything. So there's an art to all of it, I would say. So
100%. There's like you think about that barrel in action. You make a chassis, it's got to bloody well fit that barrel in action, and you gotta take into account manufacturing tolerances for that item that's fitting into your chassis.
And that's kind of why that REM 700 profile, that's kind of a loose profile. It's
it is,
because the inletting, it has to work with so much out there, and then you start looking at like above me the PGW Coyote in that MDT ACC. There's only, I think, to my knowledge, 6 of those ACCs out there inletted for a PGW Coyote, because it's not a common inlet, because it's not a common action. So it's kind of hard to come by some of those things, and that also incurs a premium typically if somebody were to even try to source that. I know we tried to get some, and they're like, you need to get 50 of these before we'll even consider it.
Yeah. And you said there's 6 right now?
To my knowledge, yeah.
44 to go.
Yeah, I got one of the first ones because everybody was too afraid to inlet their action for the AICS mags, because of course we use the proprietary PGW magazines for the longest time.
Right.
And I was like, hey, I have a Coyote, I got a machine, I'll take it, and I'll make the cuts and make it work. So I went through the prototype of that, and it works fantastic, and it's also backwards compatible. So
do all PGW Coyotes now they will accept AICS mags?
Not at the moment, because typically they only come in the PGW folder stock or a Macmillan A5. So there is talks that there will be the expansion of that, but I'm not sure how soon that will be.
Gotcha.
It's like if you put it in a different chassis, like the ACC or something else, there are inletted ones for the AICS, but typically it's just the proprietary mag.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, hey, let's pause for 2 seconds, get a drink of water because some of us are dehydrated, and let's talk about our sponsors a little bit. What do you say?
I think so. We should.
Well, just before we get started here, we have a very fancy video that I love showing people. So here we go. Oh, right. Well, that's your cue that it's our sponsor segment for sure.
All right. This evening, we're brought to you by Dion March Scopes Canada. The Dion Optical Design are creators and designers of March rifle scopes, which are all hand-built in Japan by Japanese craftsmen using only genuine Japanese-made parts to achieve the high...
Only Japanese genuine parts?
Yes. Those people.
Those people.
Shooters deserve the best possible optics to succeed in all aspects of competition, tactical, and hunting situations. And for this reason, Dion has produced a March rifle scope for every situation. Get a hold of Doug Wright at www.marchscopes.ca and his email, doug@marchscopes.ca. Let us know if you need a demo or a look-see. We could be in a neighborhood or at a match near you.
We're also brought to you by EM Precision Rifles. EM Precision Rifles in Leduc, Alberta has the tools, the knowledge, and the support that you need to achieve your goals of precision rifle mastery. We are just doing shit today, aren't we?
Yeah.
As skilled craftsmen and proven solution providers, EM guarantees equipment performance second to none. Consult with Shane for the build of your dreams and allow Steve to handcraft your next precision tool for an experience that you will not forget. Find these gentlemen on Facebook, Instagram, and on their website at emprifles.ca.
We are also brought to you by Bolt Action Coffee, bringing specialty coffee to the precision shooting world. Order coffee and merchandise at boltactioncoffee.com.
And callsign 66, welcome to the Brotherhood. Book a course with them now at callsign66.ca.
And Odell Engineering. Pick up a Canuck shotgun or Bergera rifle from your local distributor and tell them Phil sent you. Look them up at odellengineeringltd.com.
And Apex Optics. When you buy Apex, precision comes standard. Find them at apexoptics.co and grab yourself a rival 4-32 rifle scope and get on the mailing list for more exciting products coming soon. And I believe they have stock.
They do now.
They have
all the
stock.
Pre-orders are out.
That's right.
In people's hands. You betcha.
Yep, right there.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Right behind you. And those of listening at home, get your own because that one's his.
And it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
All right. Finally, we've got Ribstone Gunsmithing. Craftsmanship done right. Contact the Oscar at ribstonegunsmithing.ca and breathe life back into any firearm.
I love
that. Hey?
From
The
now
Oscar.
on, he is the Oscar.
He is the Oscar.
He is the Oscar. We would also like to announce that we've struck up a partnership with Trigger Tech Canada. Look for future announcements and offers. We're going to be talking
And an appearance.
right now.
Oh.
These will be going in some of the semi-automatic 180 platform rifles that we are currently reviewing in their stock form. But once that's done, we're going to be doing like some further videos with some of the upgrades and how they're working in the 180 platforms, and these will be a part of that. So stay tuned in the coming months.
Da.
Oh yeah, I guess that's it. I was waiting for you to read another one.
No, sorry. You're going to be waiting a while.
Yeah, okay.
You're going to be waiting a week, as a matter of fact.
Oh boy. Well, let's get back to Sean then. Sean,
Yeah.
so you were talking earlier about the Arca Rail bag. What do you call that? A holder plate? What are you calling it?
Right now I've kind of just settled on the MMW M-Lock bag plate. Kind of
oh, that has so much
not very
ring
creative.
I was thinking
I'm going to
No,
recommend
it has a good ring.
the MMW rooster plate.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll put some subtext under that one.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's better than like the Arca plate holder for your Arca Rail M-Lock bag thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I try to be a little
sort of thing
descriptive in what like even the M-Lock Harris adapter. It's like people are like, what is that? I'm like, well, it's an M-Lock Harris adapter.
Right.
That's sometimes the best way to do it, though, because if you start coming up with these proprietary names and stuff, then the people are like, what the fuck did you just say that thing was?
Yeah.
But if it's descriptive, then people will get it. But acronyms, that's where it's at. Yeah.
It's funny. People just generally expect more. Like you throw something very basic and perfectly descriptive at them, and they're like, what?
It's a who now?
They're just expecting something else. Does that stand for something that I don't think it does?
So I brought that up because I wanted to ask you, do you have some other new products that you're working on or designing or releasing, or like what's next for Marginet?
Well, I think that bag plate and the shooting bag line will be something that'll be coming out, I hope, within a couple months. Right now, I'm just holding off for my Arca M-Lock clamp production. Once that's back in, then I'll release those in tandem. And then from there, I do have some designs that I'm working on in the background, just revising some things. I will say I don't know how soon it is, but a lot of people have been asking me for a clamp style for my Arca M-Lock clamp, like the lever style. Okay. So I have been working on that as well. It's still probably a little ways out because I really like the knob. It's a quarter turn and you're loose and you can slide it, quarter turn back, and it's locked. So I haven't found a need because, again, a lot of the stuff comes from a need that I have. So, but that being said, I still take a lot of people's comments and criticisms, and I take that and I try and enhance my products or just develop something that maybe somebody else could use. And that's even where, so I have the Arca M-Lock clamp, but then I have the slot version, but then I made a version with the nubs. Because I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a platform called the Mod-DOS, which is a tripod platform. Okay. And basically it's just a platform with M-Lock on it. And that's actually where my tripod platform, some of the idea kind of came from, is a tripod platform that you can throw your spotting scope, your rangefinder, you can put a bag on it, you can shoot off it, you can do all these things. So I made that version so that it will work with the other company's platform. But typically I don't make them that often because it's like sometimes I'll make 10 or 20 of something just to test the waters, see what people think. It's like, hey, this is a crazy idea. That's kind of where honestly the brass up there, the brass shooting weights kind of came from, because I'm like, I wanted some pretty shooting weights that were just stackable, that I could just throw on my rifle, that kind of gave a little bit of bling to it. And I just started making those, and then people are like, hey, those are really nice and
shiny.
And then you started selling them.
Yeah, and then I started titanium nitriding the bolt on my PGW Coyote so that it would be gold, and then I got the Trigger Tech Diamond Gold so that I would have a little extra splash of gold, and then
now it's just out of control.
Yeah, it's out of control.
He's going to start manufacturing.
I'm going to be wearing chains
now.
Yeah. Look for Marginet Jewelry Works coming soon, 2024.
I thought it was only black and green. That was all my guns. But then
was it? You discovered a whole new palette now. Well, now
Well, you
you're
look at-
even in more trouble because now you got that rival on top of there
Mhm.
instead of a
Yeah.
loophole with
Oh,
the
yeah.
brass. Now you got to work
Yep.
on burnt
I
orange.
know.
So that's the big question here. So you said titanium nitride gave you that bronze look on the bolt in the background, and I'm actually just for a moment here because some people may not be able to see it. I'm gonna maximize you, and that almost like at least on camera that looks like it should probably just be like Cerakote, but you're telling me that's a nitriding.
Titanium nitride. Yeah, it's a PVD coating,
Okay.
physical vapor deposition, I think is what it stands for, and pretty much just puts it in a chamber and it just deposits a vapor on there. I don't know if I'm allowed to touch it, but I could pull the bolt out if you wanted to see it closer.
I think that you should break the law.
Okay.
I wish I had Iron Maiden queued up right now so that we could fill this void with some Iron Maiden, but I don't. So, damn,
Ooh.
it's even shiny. Like, there's no way that's
Very
Cerakote.
nice.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so this is actually just the tumbled finish. I can do as well. You can just polish it because the bolts are made out of 4140.
Okay.
So you can titanium nitride a lot of things, 416 stainless and other such materials. But so yeah, this was it was actually an experiment that I did. There's a place called RME Tools I think it's in Ontario, and they only typically manufacture tools and coat tools. And I was like, hey, I have these bolts for firearms. Could you coat them? And they're like, yeah, send them over. So I did a Timberwolf, a Coyote, and an M15 in all those, and it looked really good.
They're all titanium nitrided, like completely.
Yeah.
So you made gold guns. You're making gold.
Rather the bolts. I asked about the actions in the barrel, and then they never responded to me. So
those sons of bitches.
We just hope he goes away.
So basically, the first purchase is not going to be a CNC machine. You're going to have to get set up to make gold guns.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the vapor chamber
for sure. Canada Gold Guns by MMW.
Yeah.
Well, Gucci guns is already a thing. I think that Canada needs gold precision. I know it's bronze, but it's close enough to gold.
He'll be shipping down to Mexico right away to the cartels.
Hopefully not.
Oh yeah, hopefully not. Yeah.
That's not what I'm in the business for.
Yeah, let's just be very clear that was a joke, RCMP, and that nobody is going to be doing anything stupid or illegal. So what kind of how durable is a titanium nitride finish?
It seems to be quite durable. If there's a sharp corner, it will kind of wear a little bit more there. I've actually been through seven or 800 rounds with that bolt right now, and there's not any wear marks on the bolt itself on the top or the lugs or anything. It's just at some of the sharper corners, and that's about it. So it holds up quite well. And
so it's a hard, slick coating.
It is
like they use it on machine tools and stuff like that too.
Yeah, typically what you would see on a bolt for a Coyote is a nitride coating. Now it's used gas nitriding. Previously it was a quench. And so now it's a gas nitriding of just a black nitride on those bolts, and it just increases the surface hardness and as well as lubricity of the material, so just helps it skate over the surface a little bit better and just adds a little bit of additional protection.
So I've heard of I've got two machinists in front of me, so I'm taking advantage of this while I have it. And if there are any machinists listening who already know the answer to all these questions, have a Coke and a smile and shut the fuck up. I'll be done soon.
You're good, buddy.
I've heard of like nickel nickel boron coatings, and so I've got several 180 platform rifles, and then I've got the Sterling R18 rifle, and I've shot multiple MCRs. Exactly one of those guns that I got from True North Arms came with a nickel boron bolt carrier, and it is remarkably smoother to run than any of the other guns, including the Sterling. So much so that I've been kicking around the idea of how do I take this Sterling bolt carrier and get it nickel boron coated. So here's the question. What can you tell me about these different metal coatings and how do they work and what makes them slicker or cooler looking or whatever? And where does the average Joe get something like that done?
Ooh, you're asking a lot.
Yeah.
I am asking a lot.
I think
And it has
the difference between all of them is application process, the chemicals used, like nickel boron. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you know, Sean, but is a plating process rather than the deposition type process, right?
So I've been told there's two different ways to do nickel coatings, and that one of them is a plating process, and the other one is some sort of like it bonds it to the steel or something like that. Does that sound at all remotely right?
There are definitely a couple different types of ways. For example, actually the brass weights that I have, the place that I get them anodized, they do gold plating, which they actually have to do nickel plating first. So they do a nickel plating and then a gold plating on top of that.
Okay.
There is PVD coatings of nickel boron as well. It's and as you said, it's just a lot about the different material compositions. There are a few different applications. There's a quench polish. There's a gas nitride, there's the PVD, there's so many different types of coatings, and they have their own characteristics. And for example, the TIN, titanium nitride, there's titanium carbon nitride, which is that slightly bronzish one. So
Okay.
they added an additional element into that, and then it just gives it a slightly different color. So there's golds, there's rose gold, there's black, there's bronze, there's all sorts of different colors. And I think you can find, I don't remember what the site was, but it was kind of just breaking down the different lubricity characteristics of each material. And I think actually nickel boron was one of the higher ones up there as well.
Okay.
So I think that maybe is why you felt such a remarkable difference in that one. But in terms of getting it done as some everyday person, it's kind of hard to get access to those sorts of things. And that's kind of where I just went on the internet and I found that RME tools. Maybe I'm blowing up their spot now, and all of a sudden they'll get all these emails. Hey, can you code all these bolts and this action?
Yeah.
But
Next PRS match, everyone's gonna have a bronze bolt.
Yeah, like that's where I got it done, and I know they offer a few different options for the coating types. So
Really?
that might be a place to get a nickel boron. I'm not 100% sure. I'm positive they do titanium nitride though, because that's what I got done. So.
Yeah, of course. So do you have to, so for example, if you have a bolt, so obviously when the bolt is made, it's bare steel, and then they're nitriding it and sending it out. And what exactly is a black nitride? Like, how does that work?
So that one, it's pretty much everything that gets coated with these materials. They have to be just that single part. For example, aluminum, it's like you put steel in that bath. When you're anodizing, it's not going to go well. You're going to mess that bath up. For something like the nitriding, it's very much the same. I think it's not as picky with the vapor deposition, but when I do it, I just send a raw bolt that I go through the machining process. I tumble it or polish it, and I just send it raw. I don't do any additional coatings because there's different types of materials and different coatings and different things that will affect the PVD coating. So I just try.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
I just try and send the raw material. And I'm actually, I have a gray birch back there, and I'm kind of tempted to get another bolt from them and see if I can get that titanium nitride as well. But I have to get a raw one from them because I don't know how it will react with the nitride, because they do some sort of nitriding as well. So I'm just not sure how that will react yet. And
that's what I was going to ask.
It's kind of hard to get an answer out of some of these coating places too, because like I'm not a metallurgist myself, and I'm trying to figure out these things and ask questions. How thick can you apply?
Just for our audio people, Spudman's asking how thick can you apply the coating without messing up the action tolerance, and I think that was going to be one of my questions.
That's a good question. So the coatings actually are not that thick. I think they're a couple tenths, really. Microns, couple tenths of a thou, maybe. They're not very thick. I think if I remember correctly, at most the gas nitriding was 2/10 of a thou, if that. It wasn't much at all. So a lot of the tolerances, for example, a bolt in the PGW Coyote, there's 5,000ths of clearance there, and so 2/10 on top of 5,000ths, you still have pretty much a mile.
More than enough. Yeah. So, do you think that companies you were talking about asking Gray Birch for a raw bolt? Do you think that a company would just do that for the average person? Do you think, or they'd be like, "No, fuck you, I'm sending you mine."
Usually,
probably not.
Yeah, they want you to send a batch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, even that rifle back there, that Gray Birch. So I got one of the early fatties because I was like, "Ooh, stainless barrel, thick barrel, I want that." But then immediately I saw it, and I'm like, "I have to helically flute this," and I couldn't help myself. So I talked to them, and they're like, "We don't recommend taking that apart." So I'm like, "Fine, I'll design a barrel nut wrench." And then I designed a barrel nut wrench, and I took it apart. And I helically fluted it, and then I posted it all Cerakoted, and they're like, "That's amazing."
I wish we had thought of that.
Yeah.
But will they send you? Do you think that the companies would send you a raw piece, like a raw steel piece of material, like not
I think if I were to ask, and I didn't really ask them. I kind of was it was another one of those like pipe dream things that I'm like stacking more gold into my guns. I'm like, like where can I put another accent? And it's kind of leaning on the bolts. And I picked up that Shadow Systems DR920P pistol, and it's got it's the more bronze of the nitriding, and it's nice too. But I'm like, oh, now it's not gold, and I'm like, is that good enough?
It sounds like getting into this stuff is a lot more fun than it should be.
Yeah. I kind of it's my brain works in a interesting way. I kind of have like spreadsheets for all my builds, and it's like I have it planned out, and I'm like, okay, I want this part, and it sucked. Like go back to the Order in Council that I had a stag build. I had a stag build all planned out, and I was ready to pull the trigger, literally and figuratively, and it just fell apart because I'm just like, what? Like I can't do that now. So
I literally had the same thing, only I had pretty much all of it purchased.
Yeah. I know a couple of guys like that, and it's so unfortunate. They just get to sit there and look at it now, and So that's I kind of just work with that in my mind, and a lot of my guns, it's like I'm like green and black. That's the theme, and barreled action, and now I'm kind of expanding on that, and that also brings to mind some different products that I may find useful, and that's it was an interesting coincidence. I've had my restricted for quite some time, but I finally just got a pistol, and I finally got a pistol a month before the announcement of C21, and I'm like, oh, come on,
damn it. Can't stop screwing you over.
So I immediately bought 2 more, and I want a 3rd and a 4th, and I'm just like, I'm trying to get a couple before, like I may or may not have any more time, but now that I have them, it's like, okay, I see all this potential for different accessories that I can make and other things like that. But it's like I got to also rein that in, because there's only so many hours in the day, and only so many directions I can pull myself in. So right now I'm very much trying to focus on a lot of the competitive shooting sports, more like PRS, CRPS, ORPS, stuff like that, and just trying to bring to market things that, because myself, I haven't done a lot of the other shooting matches other than PRS and CRPS, although I'm very interested in them. I haven't had the opportunity, especially now that I'm just spending so much time in the shop. But I hope to support more of the shooting sports as well, just through my business.
For sure, yeah.
Well, you're doing a good job so far. I mean, this is where I started seeing your products. Is it CRPS events, and I think you lent some support also out to the Sapril matches, right?
Yep. Yeah, I did.
So you're getting some stuff out there,
and actually
recognize your name.
Thank you. Yeah. That's awesome to hear. I'll actually be at the end of this month, the MDT Rifleman Team Challenge in Miami, Manitoba.
Sure.
So
cool.
I'll be there as a sponsor and as well an RO. So I'll be there just to. It's nice, even though I haven't been able to get out a match this year. It'll be nice to get out at least as an RO.
For sure.
Supporting the community and supporting the shooting sports is one thing, and putting some products out on the table, but getting out there and putting a face to the name is really nice too. Because at the end of the day, like, a lot of people like send me an email like I'm just a massive shop or something, and like, hey, you guys out there. I'm like, I'm just one guy in my basement. Thanks for thinking that highly of me, but
yeah, all of a sudden everybody thinks you're some sort of multinational.
Right. Yeah.
You Americans think you can come in here to our market. Yeah. Dan's got a question, but before he does, Doug had an interesting, I never thought about this, but obviously Doug did. He said he transferred all of his handguns to his son so that they can live longer than him. That's an interesting thought, you know, in a situation like a guy like Doug. So he's not super old, but he's not a spring chicken either. But what an interesting idea.
I'm sure he appreciates that.
Me telling him that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not telling him anything he doesn't already know.
Well, that's true.
Like, let's be honest. So Dan wants to know if you got a Desert Eagle to turn gold.
That was another one, just like a 50 BMG. It was like, it's way down the list. It's like, one day I want one of those, but it's like, yeah, that one. I saw one the other day too. It was gold and black. It just looks so slick. And I'm like, what am I like? Am I like a cartel member deep down? Like, what is going on? Like,
right.
There's just something that draws the eye. You know, you're either a cartel member or some sort of raven human hybrid. But regardless, so how much of what you do, machining and metalworks, all that sort of stuff, how much of that is science and how much of that is art?
That's pretty 50-50.
A deep philosophical question here.
Ooh.
I'm looking for a deep philosophical answer.
Yeah, because like there's something like I will say, so I got into this career in 2015. I left over a decade in information technology. I dropped everything to go back to school and to become a machinist, because I found my day was passionless, and I found that just a lack of drive for my career at the time in information technology. So I wanted to do something different, and I left it and I became a machinist. And now, like, it's so weird, because when I was younger, I would see the CNC machines. I went to a vocational school, and I would see them, and they'd kind of speak to me, and I'd be like, there's something about that. I really like it. And I like doing things with my hands, making a product, having something physical, and going through all those steps. It was just, there's something to it. And just even hearing like the machine making cuts and seeing those chips come off the machine, and just the consistency of those chips. And it's like, there's something to it that just speaks to me. And it's like, the machine is almost singing to me in a weird way. And it's just like, it just feels really good. And it's like, even in designing something, it's like, I look at a product and I'm like, okay, a pick rail. And it's a simple product. It's a pick rail, but I'm like, I can put some aesthetically pleasing features on there, radius a little bit, contour it, make it a little bit stand out a little bit differently. And at the end of the day, somebody may look at it and be like, that's a pick rail. That's what that does. And me, I see something a little bit different in it. But so I would say, I don't know, that's maybe a bit more art, because I don't know. I'm not like, I never claimed to be like engineer or anything like that, because it's like, I'm not formally trained in any of these things. It's just something that I picked up. Like, even my website, it's like a lot of that was me. I used to do web development. I used to do system administration. I used to do database management. I used to do a lot of different things. And so I kind of just put all my different skill sets together and formed it into what this company is now. And I see a lot in it, a lot of potential in myself and a potential in the future of this company. And I hope to bring to market some more useful products and just kind of share my vision.
Well, you got to have a lot of creativity, I guess, to come up with a concept and build something from just a block of chunk of steel or aluminum or brass or whatever. That creative bit you can't train. So it's there's a lot,
definitely
lot of
sounds
art.
it definitely sounds like, at least as far as the heart goes, it's all art. You know what I mean? Like, just listening to you talk about it, there's not a whole lot of science in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I mean, you get down to it. It's like, I know my speeds and feeds, and it's like, okay, how fast do you want to take this corner in aluminum with a 3-flute end mill? It's like that. There's some science to that, breaking down your speeds and feeds for your surface finishes and all that. But it's just, there's a lot to it. And it just, it checks a lot of boxes for me. There's a lot of different things that I find that are really enjoyable about it. But again, taking a step back, it's also becoming very overwhelming because I know I can't fill all those. I can't wear all those different hats because even my accounting, it's like I do all that myself too, and it's like what am I doing? Like I gotta like let other people help me and get this going. And I think I'm really starting to realize that this year, and that's really, I think, going to help me expand my business in the.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, but at the same time, I can remember when I first heard that and started learning that lesson in my business. It was, somebody had come to me and basically explained the concept of how to be successful, I have to start working on my business instead of in my business, and started telling me that you have to work yourself out of a position by training other people to do that certain thing, and that's the key to building it. And
that's tough
for
to
a
do
passion
when you
project,
have so much to do.
Yeah, well, that, and when it's a passion project, you don't always want to let someone else do it. And the reality is that when you do find someone else to do it, half the time they won't do it the way that you would do it. And it's a tough thing, the growth of the business and not allowing the growth of the business to be hampered by the passion that you have for it. And it's a tricky tightrope to walk.
Yeah.
Dan, oops. Whoa, okay. That's not what I meant to click on. But Joel says inspired people are inspiring. That is true. That's very true. But I was trying to get Dan's comment here. He's over the moon with the Arca rail that you machined for him.
Oh, nice.
And I'm not going to highlight this, but Yen says business rule number 1, don't give Trudeau any money. So literally the only way that we can do that in Canada is either finally vote him out or move to Wyoming or North Dakota or South Dakota or Montana or wherever this week's hidey hole is going to be. So Sean, where can people find you?
Well, I am available on the social medias, Facebook, of course, at MMW Gear, as well as Instagram at MMW Gear. You can find me on my website, mmwgear.com or .ca. I have both the domains. And if you want my direct email address, it's just sean@mmwgear.com.
Perfect. Yeah. Is there anything that you would like that we haven't talked about yet that you want the people out there in shooting land to know about?
Well, I would just like to say thank you for having me on tonight. As I mentioned, you've been a podcast that I've been listening to for quite some time, so it's going to be weird. I'm going to listen to this one, and blushing. I'm going to be listening to myself.
It is super weird, listening to your own stuff.
But I appreciate you having me on, and as well, I'd like to say I appreciate all the customers out there, everybody that is running something that I made and going to a match and even just planking and just shooting groups, whatever it may be. It's just, it's a source of pride to see all these people running equipment and have this good feedback coming back to me. And it's really keeping me motivated to continue on what I'm doing and bring more products to the market.
Well, I really appreciate you having you on. It's sometimes we talk to people who run small businesses or do small specified projects, and they talk about it like it's a job, or talk about like a robot sort of thing. But you can really see when you're talking about the stuff, especially the design stuff, the stuff you're working on, the stuff you want to work on. You definitely have a passion there, and that's a cool thing to listen to you talk about.
Thank you. I can talk about shooting and machining and probably smoking briskets and making coffee and all sorts of. I can talk about all that stuff for hours. If I'm into it, I am very, very into it, and that's why even this audio equipment, I coined myself as a geardo because I'm. If I'm into something, I'm into it on a really weird level.
Yeah. So sometimes ADD can work for us.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, folks, if you haven't already, make sure that you hit a like or a thumbs up or whatever else is available on whatever platform you're watching us on, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or whatever else. Check out the show on facebook.com/BS podcast. Make sure you leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. Only good reviews, please. If you say you don't recommend our podcast, we'll hunt you down. Also, if you like the content, make sure you leave a like on, I already said that, and share on the, we got to rewrite this thing. I've said that like 5 times. Yeah. You guys understand what I'm saying, right? Do the things with the stuff.
I miss it every week, every time I do the show notes.
Oh, that's okay. I miss it too every time I read the show notes. You can email questions to us as well at info@bspodcast.ca. You can send us whatever you want. We've got a lot of really exciting things coming up over the next little while. We are going to be looking at TACOM, potentially King of 2 Miles. I mean, let's find out when that is. We've got lots of new videos.
It is the 9th, 10th, 11th weekend in September.
Oh, they've announced that now?
Well, Shane was talking to Rob, and they haven't announced it yet, but Rob.
But it is the 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so what that means then is in early September, everybody should look out and listen for all of our TACOM content from me and all of our King of 2 Miles coverage from you.
From me, yep.
Which kind of sucks that you're not coming with me to TACOM.
Yep, it does.
We're going to have a discussion about that. Either TACOM's got to move or King of 2 Miles has got to move. I don't care what it is. But listen, the ballistically speaking folks are not happy. We like traveling together. So sort your shit out. Anyway, sorry, are you going to read the next one or am I?
I can, yeah.
You go for it.
Just a massive thank you to all our sponsors again. Without you, we wouldn't have a show in the first place. Shane and Steve with EM Precision Rifles, Miles, Carey, and Cappy with call sign 66. Duncan and Rob with Bolt Action Coffee, Phil Odell at Odell Engineering, Doug and Niza with March Scopes Canada, Vanya and Carly with Apex Optics, and Oscar with Ribstone Gunsmithing. Thank you so much, you guys.
And with that, I guess we will talk to everybody next week. Sean, thank you again for coming on. It's really great learning about your company and all the cool crap that you're making. And I didn't mean crap in a bad way. It was I meant crap in the endearing way.
I appreciate
all the cool accessories and things that you're making just rolled out of the mouth without the brain even thinking about it.
You're tired. You're
dehydrated. That's the word. That's entirely the word. So yeah, we'll see everybody next week. Thanks for joining us. And I don't know, shoot stuff.
Sayonara.
Sayonara.
Stay deadly.
This right here has the ability with a 30 caliber clip to disperse with 30 bullets within half a second.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS, ballistically speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.